So it's December, and you just got hit with a $400 car insurance bill, and you're sitting there staring at your checking account, thinking, where the hell am I supposed to get $400 right now? And here's the thing, this isn't even a surprise. You knew this bill was coming. It comes every 6 months like clockwork. But somehow, every single time, it feels like a financial emergency. Or maybe it's Christmas gifts, or your annual Amazon Prime membership, or your car registration, or that dentist appointment you've been putting off because you don't have the money right now. If this sounds familiar, you're not broke. You're just budgeting wrong. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people make terrible financial decisions. If you're someone who handles your monthly bills just fine, but gets completely blindsided by expenses that happen every single year, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Today we're talking about sinking funds, which might be the most unsexy term in personal finance, but is also probably the one thing that'll finally stop you from putting emergencies on your credit card that aren't actually emergencies. Look, here's what's happening. According to a 2023 Bankrate survey, 57% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 unexpected expense. But here's what most people don't realize. When researchers actually dig into what people are calling unexpected expenses, about 68% of them are completely predictable. Car insurance? Predictable. Christmas? Predictable. Back-to-school shopping? Predictable. Your dog's annual vet visit? Predictable. We're not talking about your transmission randomly dying. We're talking about expenses that you know are coming, but because they don't hit your bank account every single month, your brain treats them like they're optional or surprising. And this is costing you actual money. Here's the math that nobody wants to. The math that, look at, let's say you make $50,000 a year. Throughout the year, you get hit with these irregular expenses. Maybe $800 for car insurance, $600 for Christmas gifts, $300 for car registration and maintenance, $400 for medical co-pays and prescriptions, $200 for birthday gifts and celebrations, $300 for home repairs or replacements. That's $2,600 in expenses that aren't happening monthly. Now, if you're like most people, you're putting about half of these on a credit card because you don't have the cash right now. That's $1,300 on a credit card at, let's say, 22% APR, because that's about average right now. If it takes you 6 months to pay that off, and for most people it takes longer, you just paid an extra $143 in interest. You just made your $2,600 in irregular expenses cost $2,743. For no reason. For literally no reason, except that you didn't plan for expenses you absolutely knew were coming. Now you might be thinking, John, I know these expenses are coming. I'm not stupid. I just don't have extra money sitting around. And look, I get it. But here's the thing. You are paying for these expenses. You're just paying for them in the worst possible way, at the worst possible time, with the worst possible terms. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. You've got what behavioral economists call present bias. Your brain is really good at dealing with things that are immediate and concrete. Monthly rent? Your brain gets it. That's $200 leaving your account on the first of every month. Easy. But car insurance, that's $400 twice a year? Your brain is like, hey, that's 6 months away. Future me will deal with it. And then future you shows up, and future you is broke because past you was an idiot. There's actually research on this from MIT behavioral economist Dan Ariely. He found that people consistently underestimate irregular expenses by about 40%. So if your actual irregular expenses for the year are $3,000, you probably think, only around $2,800. Your brain is literally lying to you about your own spending. And here's where it gets really interesting. This is why you feel broke even when you're making decent money, because you're constantly in this cycle of getting ambushed by expenses that you should have seen coming from a mile away. So, let's talk about sinking funds. Um, Terrible name, by the way. It sounds like your money is literally sinking into a hole. But the concept is incredibly simple. A sinking fund is money you set aside every month for expenses that don't happen every month. That's it. That's the whole concept. But the way you implement this is what makes all the difference. Here's how this actually works. First, you need to figure out what your irregular expenses actually are. And I mean all of them. Grab a piece of paper or open a spreadsheet, I don't care which, and write down every single expense you have that doesn't happen monthly. Here's a real example from one of my viewers who gave me permission to share this. Sarah makes $60,000 a year. Here's what she came up with. Car insurance, $900 per year. Paid twice, $450 each time. Car registration, $180 per year. Amazon Prime, $139 per year. Costco membership, $60 per year. Spotify Family Plan, $180 per year. Yes, it's monthly, but small subscriptions count. Christmas gifts, $800 per year. Birthday gifts, $300 per year. Vehicle maintenance, $600 per year. Oil changes, inspections, new tires eventually. Medical, copays, prescriptions for the year. $500 per year. Vet bills for her dog, $400 per year. Home repairs and replacements, $800 per year. Vacation, $1,500 per year. Clothing, $400 per year. Total, $6,759 per year. Now here's the thing that absolutely blew Sarah's mind when we did this exercise. That's $563 per month. $563 per month that she wasn't budgeting for because these expenses weren't happening monthly. She was making $60,000 a year, which after taxes is about $3,650 per month. And she couldn't figure out why she was always broke. Well, here's why. She was trying to live on $3,750 a month when her actual expenses required $4,313 per month. The math wasn't mathing. So here's how you fix this. You need to treat these irregular expenses exactly like monthly bills. Look, if your rent is $1,200 a month, you don't wait until the end of the year and try to come up with $14,400 all at once. That would be insane. You pay it monthly. Same concept here. Take your total irregular expenses for the year and divide by 12. That's your monthly sinking fund contribution. For Sarah, that's $6,759. 12 equals $563 per month. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, I literally don't have an extra 563 just lying around. And that's fair. But remember, you're already spending this money. You're just spending it in a panic on a credit card with interest. Here's how to actually make this work. Step 1. Start with a high-yield savings account that's separate from your main checking. I'm talking actually separate. Different bank, if possible. You can get accounts right now paying 4 to 5% APY. Not much, but it's better than the 0.001% your regular savings is probably paying. Step 2. Set up automatic transfers the day after you get paid. This is crucial. You cannot rely on willpower. The money needs to leave your checking account before you have a chance to spend it. Step 3. Create subaccounts or track categories within your sinking fund. Most high-yield savings accounts now let you create buckets or goals. If yours doesn't, just use a simple spreadsheet. For Sarah, she set up categories like this: auto expenses, $140 month, $1,680 a year. Gifts, $92 month, $1,100 year. Medical, $42 month, $500 year. Home, $67 month, $800 year. Vacation, $125 month, $1,500 year. Everything else, $97 month, $1,179 year. Step 4. When the expense hits, you transfer the money from your sinking fund to checking and pay it. No credit card, no panic, no interest. Now here's the beautiful part that nobody talks about. After about 6 months of doing this, you stop feeling broke all the time, because you're not constantly recovering from financial surprises that aren't actually surprises. This is where it gets really interesting from a psychological standpoint. When Sarah started doing this, something shifted in her brain. She told me, "For the first time in my adult life, I know exactly how much money I actually have." Because here's what most people don't realize. When you're not using sinking funds, you're constantly overestimating how much money you have. You look at your checking account, you see $2,000, and you think, "Cool, I've got $2,000. But you don't. You've got $2,000 minus whatever irregular expenses are about to hit you that you forgot about. With sinking funds, when you look at your checking account, that money is actually yours. It's not spoken for. It's spoken for, not already committed to your car insurance bill that's coming next month. There's research from the Journal of Consumer Research that shows this exact effect. People who use what they call mental accounting, which is basically just sinking funds by another name, report 34% higher financial satisfaction even when their income doesn't change. You're not making more money. You just know where your money is going. And this reduces what psychologists call financial anxiety, that constant low-level stress about money that's just humming in the background of your life all the time. Now let's address the objections I know some of you are having. Objection 1. I literally don't have extra money to put into sinking funds. Look, I hear you, but you need to understand, you're already spending this money. The question isn't whether you can afford it. The question is whether you want to keep paying 22% interest on predictable expenses. If you genuinely can't cash flow your irregular expenses without debt, that's not a sinking fund problem. That's an income problem or a spending problem, and we need to address that separately. But for most people, the money is there. It's just being mismanaged. Objection 2. This seems complicated. It's literally just automatic transfers and a spreadsheet. You set it up once and then it runs on autopilot. You spend more time scrolling TikTok before bed than this would take per month. Objection 3. What if I need that money for something else? This is the emergency fund question. And here's the thing. You need both. You need an emergency fund for actual emergencies, job loss, medical crisis, car accident, and you need sinking funds for predictable, irregular expenses. What happens when you don't separate these is that you use your emergency fund for Christmas shopping, and then, when an actual emergency happens, you're screwed. Objection 4. What if my irregular expenses change? Then you adjust. Then you see, this isn't set in stone. Every 6 months, look at your categories and see if they're still accurate. Maybe you spent less on medical than you thought. Cool. Reallocate that to vacation. Maybe your car needed more maintenance. Adjust next year's number up. All right, so here's exactly how to do this, step by step, starting today. Today, 15 minutes. 1. List every irregular expense you can think of for the entire year. 2. Add them up. 3. Divide by 12. 4. Have a small crisis when you realize how much money you've been ignoring. This week, 1 hour. 1. Open a high-yield savings account if you don't have one. Ally, Marcus, Capital One, 360, I don't care which. Just pick one. 2. Set up automatic transfers for your monthly sinking fund amount. 3. Create your categories/buckets. 4. Set calendar reminders for when each irregular expense is due. This month, ongoing. 1. Start funding your categories. 2. Don't expect to have everything fully funded immediately. This is going to take us. Time 3. If an irregular expense hits before you fully funded it, pay as much as you can from the sinking fund and put the rest on a credit card with a plan to pay it off. Within 6 months, you should be mostly caught up, meaning when irregular expenses hit, you have the cash to cover them without debt. Now, here's a pro tip. Start with your most frequent irregular expenses first. If car insurance hits every 6 months, prioritize that category. If Christmas is 11 months away, that can build more slowly. Let me tell you what happened with Sarah after 1 year of doing this. First year, she still had to put about $2,200 on her credit card because she was building up her sinking funds from zero. But that's compared to the $3,400 she put on credit cards the year before. Second year, zero debt for irregular expenses. Zero. But here's the crazy part. And this is what she told me made the biggest difference. She actually started enjoying spending money again. When Christmas came around, she wasn't stressed about buying gifts. She wasn't doing the mental math of, can I afford this? Because she knew she could afford it. The money was sitting there, already allocated, waiting to be spent. When her car needed new tires, instead of it ruining her whole month, she was like, oh yeah, I budgeted for this. Transferred the money, got it done, moved on with her life. This is what financial peace actually looks like. It's not about being rich. It's about knowing exactly where you stand and not being constantly ambushed by your own spending. And here's the thing nobody talks about. This compounds over time. Because when you're not paying interest on irregular expenses, you have more money. When you have more money, you can fund your sinking funds faster. When your sinking funds are well funded, you have a buffer. When you have a buffer, you make better financial decisions because you're not operating from a place of panic. Once you've got the basics down, here are some advanced moves. Strategy 1. Front-load your sinking funds. If you get a tax refund or a bonus, dump it into your sinking funds to get them fully funded faster. This accelerates the whole process and gets you out of the debt cycle quicker. Strategy 2. Round up your contributions. If your math says you need $563 a month, contribute $600. The extra goes into a buffer category. Over time, this builds a cushion for when expenses are higher than expected or for new irregular expenses you didn't anticipate. Strategy 3. Automate the actual payments. For things like insurance or subscriptions, set them to autopay from your sinking fund account directly when possible. This closes the loop entirely. Money comes in monthly, Expense gets paid automatically when due. You never even think about it. Strategy 4. Review quarterly. Every 3 months, spend 20 minutes looking at your categories. Are you on track? Do you need to adjust? Did you forget any expenses? This prevents you from being 6 months in and realizing you completely forgot about something. Look, here's the bottom line. You are capable of managing your money. You're not bad with money. You're not irresponsible. You just haven't been given the right system. The entire financial industry benefits from you feeling confused and overwhelmed. Credit card companies love that you treat predictable expenses like emergencies. They literally make billions of dollars from this psychological blind spot. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every single person I've walked through this process has the same reaction. Oh my God, this is so obvious. Why didn't I do this years ago? And my answer is always the same. Because nobody taught you. Because personal finance education in this country is a joke. Because you were busy trying to survive and nobody sat you down and showed you the math. But now you know. And knowing is the first step. But it's not the only step. You need to actually do this. Like, pause this video, open a spreadsheet, and start listing your irregular expenses. Right now, not later, not when I have time. Now. Because every month you wait is another month of interest, another month of stress, another month of feeling broke when you don't have to. You've got this. It's literally just math and automatic transfers. If you can set up Netflix autopay, you can set up sinking funds. If this video helped you finally understand why you feel broke all the time, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more content on how to actually manage your money without feeling like you need a PhD in finance. Drop a comment below with the irregular expense that always catches you off guard. I'm willing to bet it's either car insurance or Christmas for like 90% of you. And if you want more specific help with budgeting strategies, check out the video I'll link in the description about zero-based budgeting. I'm John. Stop making financial decisions based on vibes, and I'll see you in the next one.